Welcome, my friends. I am so glad you could join me today. Please, make yourself comfortable. Imagine we are sitting together by a warm, crackling fire. The stars are bright above us, and the air is still. Today I want to tell you a story. It is not a story of kings or wars, though they play their part. It is a story of something invisible, yet powerful. It is the story of perfume. Have you ever smelled a flower and felt a memory return to you? Or perhaps the smell of rain on dry earth made you feel peaceful? Scent is a bridge. It connects our hearts to our history. Let us walk across that bridge together. Imagine, if you can, a world from thousands of years ago. We're in the land of Egypt, the gift of the Nile. The sun is very hot, and the sand stretches forever. But inside the great temples, the air is different. It is thick, sweet, and heavy with smoke. In these ancient times, perfume was not a liquid in a glass bottle. The word perfume comes from the Latin words perfumum. Do you know what that means? It means through smoke. People burned woods and resins to create a beautiful smell. They believed this smoke carried their prayers up to the gods. The Egyptians were the masters of this art. They loved scents so much that they thought of them as the sweat of the gods. To them, a good smell was a sign of holiness. They used a special incense called kaifi. It was made of 16 different ingredients, like honey, wine, and raisins. Can you imagine the smell? It was rich, dark, and mysterious. But perfume was not just for the gods. It was also for the living. Wealthy Egyptians would place a cone of scented fat on their heads during parties. As the night went on, the fat would melt. It would run down their hair and clothes, keeping them smelling fresh in the heat. It sounds strange to us today, doesn't it? But to them, it was the height of fashion. We must also remember a woman named Tapputi. She lived in Mesopotamia around 1200 BC. She is the first person in history we know of who made perfume. She was a chemist. She used flowers, oil, and different plants to create scents. She even wrote down her methods on clay tablets. When someone died in Egypt, perfume played one last role. It was used in embalming, the process of preserving the body. They used myrrh and cassia to make the body ready for the afterlife. To the Egyptians, life was short, but a beautiful scent was eternal. It was a gift that followed you into the next world. As time passed, the secret of scent traveled across the blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea. It arrived in Greece. The Greeks were people who loved beauty and the human body. They took the Egyptian ideas and made them their own. In Greece, perfume was no longer just for the gods or the dead. It became a part of daily life for athletes and citizens. After exercising, athletes would rub their bodies with scented oils. They believed these oils helped their muscles and made them more attractive. Have you ever wondered why we use scented soap today? It all started with this love for hygiene. The Greeks also began to study plants more closely. They traveled to far lands to find new ingredients. They used roses, lilies, and violets. Each part of the body had its own special scent. A Greek person might use mint for their arms and marjoram for their hair. They were very organized about their beauty. Then came the Romans. If the Greeks loved perfume, the Romans were obsessed with it. For the Romans, perfume was a symbol of power and extreme wealth. They did not just wear perfume, they lived in it. They perfumed their clothes, their horses, and even their pet birds. Imagine going to a great Roman feast. You look up at the ceiling and you see rose petals falling like snow. The air is so thick with the smell of roses that it is hard to breathe. The walls of the room might even be painted with scented oils. This was a way for rich Romans to show how much money they had. However, some people thought this was too much. They worried that people were spending more money on perfume than on food. But the Roman love for the good life could not be stopped. They created public baths where everyone could go to get clean and be scented. These baths were the social centers of the world. Through these baths, the culture of perfume spread to every corner of the Roman Empire. Now let us travel east. While Europe entered a quieter time, the Islamic world was entering a golden age of science and art. This is where the story of perfume takes a giant leap forward. This is where perfume became the liquid we know today. Have you ever seen a beautiful rose in a garden? To capture that smell, you cannot just burn the flower. You need science. In the 10th century, a great man named Avicenna lived in Persia. He was a doctor and a philosopher. He was the one who perfected the process of distillation. Distillation is a way of using steam to take the oil out of a flower. Imagine boiling rose petals in water. The steam rises, carrying the scent. When that steam cools down, it turns back into a liquid. This liquid is pure, concentrated rose water. It was a miracle. Suddenly, scents could be stored in bottles for a long time. They were lighter and fresher than the heavy oils of the past. The Middle East became the center of the perfume world. Because of the Silk Road, traders brought spices from India and China. They brought musk, ambergris, and sandalwood. The markets, or souks, in cities like Baghdad were filled with these exotic smells. For the people of the Middle East, perfume was also deeply connected to their faith. The Prophet Muhammad loved scents, and he encouraged his followers to use them. They even mixed musk into the mortar used to build mosques. When the sun warmed the walls of the mosque, the building itself would smell beautiful. This knowledge didn't stay in the East. Travelers and soldiers began to bring these scented waters back to Europe. They brought back the water of the East. They brought back the smell of roses and the magic of the laboratory. The world was about to change again, and the smell of the Middle East would lead the way. For a long time, Europe was a very smelly place. In the Middle Ages, people did not bathe as often as we do now. They believed that water could carry diseases into the body. Can you imagine the streets of a crowded city back then? It was not very pleasant. Perfume returned to Europe in a very practical way. It was first used as medicine. People carried pomanders. These were small decorative metal balls filled with scented herbs and spices like cloves and cinnamon. People would hold the pomander to their noses when they walked through smelly streets. They believed the good smell would protect them from the Black Death or the plague. As the Renaissance began in Italy, things changed. The Renaissance was a time of rebirth. People wanted beauty, art, and luxury again. The city of Venice became very important. Because it was a port city, it received all the wonderful spices and oils from the Silk Road. Italian chemists began to experiment with alcohol. They found that if they mixed essential oils with alcohol, the scent would last much longer. This was the birth of modern perfumery. One of the most famous early perfumes was Hungary water. It was made with rosemary and alcohol. Legend says it helped a 70-year-old queen look young again. In the 1500s, a woman named Catherine de' Medici moved from Italy to France to marry the king. She brought her personal perfume maker with her. His name was René le Florentin. He was very talented, but he was also very private. He had a secret laboratory connected to Catherine's rooms by a hidden hallway. He didn't want anyone to steal his recipes. Catherine made perfume very popular in the French court. At that time, people wore expensive leather gloves, but leather has a very strong, bad smell. René created scented gloves to hide that smell. Soon, every lady in France wanted scented gloves. This small fashion choice changed history because it led to the creation of the perfume capital of the world. If you travel to the south of France, you will find a small town called Grasse. Today, it is famous for its hills of flowers, but long ago it was a town of tanners who made leather. Because of the trend Catherine de' Medici started, the people of Grasse began to grow flowers to scent their leather. The climate in Grasse was perfect. The sun was warm and the soil was rich. They grew jasmine, roses, and lavender. Eventually, they stopped making leather and started making only perfume. Grasse became the heart of the perfume industry, and it remains so to this day. During the 17th and 18th centuries, France became the perfumed court. King Louis XIV was known as the sweetest-smelling king. He was afraid of water, so he almost never took a bath. Instead, he used perfume to cover his body odor. He demanded a new scent for every day of the week. His court at Versailles was a place of incredible luxury. Perfume was everywhere. It was in the fountains, on the furniture, and even in the powder people used for their white wigs. It was a world of masks and beautiful smells, used to hide a world that was often quite dirty. Then came Marie Antoinette. She loved nature and flowers. She moved away from the heavy, animal-smelling perfumes of the past. She preferred the light, fresh smell of roses and violets. She even had her own signature scent made just for her. But perfume was still only for the very rich. A single bottle could cost more than a worker earned in a year. It was a wall between the rich and the poor. However, the world was about to change. Science was growing and a revolution was coming, not just in politics, but in the very molecules of scent. Imagine we are now in the 1800s. The world is changing fast. Steam engines are huffing and factories are rising. This is the Industrial Revolution. For perfume, this was the most important moment in history. Why? Because of chemistry. Before this time, perfume was made only from natural things. If you wanted the smell of a rose, you needed thousands of roses. This made perfume very expensive. But in the 19th century, scientists began to look inside the molecules of plants. They learned how to copy smells in a laboratory. The first big discovery was coumarin. It smells like fresh hay. Then came vanillin, which smells like vanilla. These were synthetic ingredients. They were man-made. Suddenly, perfume makers didn't have to wait for a harvest of flowers. They could create new smells that didn't even exist in nature. In 1889, a man named Aimé Guerlain created a perfume called Jicky. This is often called the first modern perfume. It used a mix of natural ingredients and these new synthetic molecules. It was bold, it was different, and it lasted a long time. These scientific steps made perfume cheaper to produce. It began to move from the king's palace to the department store. More people could afford to have a small bottle of beauty on their dresser. Perfume was becoming a way for anyone to express their personality. This was also the time when we started to understand how perfume is built. We talk about top notes, the smell you notice first, middle notes, the heart of the scent, and base notes, the smell that stays for hours. Like a piece of music, perfume now had a structure. It was no longer just a single flower. It was a symphony. After the dark days of World War I, the world wanted to dance. This was the roaring 20s. Women were cutting their hair short, wearing shorter dresses, and looking for a new kind of freedom. They wanted a scent that felt modern and powerful. Enter Coco Chanel. She wanted a perfume that smelled like a woman, not like a flower bed. In 1921, her perfume maker, Ernest Beau, showed her several samples. She chose the fifth one. That is how Chanel No. 5 was born. It was famous for using aldehydes. These are synthetic chemicals that give a scent a sparkling or soapy feeling. It was clean and abstract. It didn't smell like a specific rose. It smelled like a feeling. It became the most famous perfume in the world. As the years went by, perfume became a part of the Hollywood dream. In the 1940s and 50s, stars like Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn were the faces of fragrance. Perfume was about glamour, romance, and mystery. Every woman wanted to smell like a movie star. Fashion designers became the kings of perfume. Christian Dior, Nina Ricci, and Hubert de Givenchy all launched scents. They realized that while not everyone could afford a designer dress, many people could afford a designer perfume. The industry grew and grew. During this time, we saw the birth of iconic scents that mothers would pass down to their daughters. Perfume became a memory in a bottle. It was a gift for birthdays, for weddings, and for I love you. It was no longer a luxury for the few. It was a dream for the many. In the 1980s and 90s, perfume became big business. The scents were loud and strong, just like the fashion of the time. Think of perfumes like Poison or Giorgio Beverly Hills. You could smell someone coming from a block away. But then, things shifted again. In the 1990s, people wanted something cleaner and more natural. This is when CK1 by Calvin Klein arrived. It was the first famous unisex perfume. It showed that perfume didn't have to be about him or her. It could just be about us. The 21st century brought the celebrity scent. Everyone from Jennifer Lopez to Britney Spears had their own perfume. These were very popular and made perfume accessible to young people all over the world. Fragrance was now a global language. Today, we are also seeing the rise of niche brands. These are small companies that make very unique, artistic scents. They don't try to please everyone. They might make a perfume that smells like rain on a sidewalk or an old library. People today are looking for a signature scent, something that is theirs alone. With the internet, we can buy oils from India, resins from Oman, or modern molecules from New York. The whole world of scent is at our fingertips. We have more choices than any king or queen in history ever had. But with all this choice, we are also starting to ask important questions. Where do these ingredients come from? Are the people growing the jasmine being treated fairly? Is the plastic bottle hurting the earth? We are moving into a new chapter, one of responsibility. As we sit here by our fire, the story of perfume is still being written. What does the future hold? It is a future of green leaves and smart technology. The perfume industry is now focusing on sustainability. This means protecting the nature that gives us our scents. Perfumers are finding ways to grow flowers using less water. They're using upcycled ingredients, like using the leftover wood from furniture making to create a beautiful cedar scent. We also have artificial intelligence helping out. AI can help a perfumer find the perfect balance of molecules in seconds. It can suggest combinations humans might never think of. But don't worry, the nose of a human creator will always be the most important part. Technology is just the tool. The soul comes from us. Imagine a perfume made just for you. In the future, a computer might look at your DNA or your favorite memories and create a scent that fits your personality perfectly. A scent that makes you feel brave when you are scared or calm when you are stressed. My friends, we have traveled from the smoky temples of Egypt to the high-tech labs of today. We have seen that perfume is more than just a liquid in a bottle. It is a time machine. It is a prayer. It is a piece of science. And most of all, it is a way for us to tell the world who we are without saying a single word. As you go about your day tomorrow, I hope you stop to smell the world around you. Notice the scent of the morning air or the spice in your tea. Remember that you are part of a long, beautiful history.